Hello, everybody. Welcome to our first Coaches and Professionals Town Hall event. Really grateful that you all are here to join us, whether you're here live or watching this on a recording in a couple of days here. My name's Kelsey. I'm one of the program leads for the Coaches and Professionals program. So really happy to have a great panel here with us tonight to kind of get things started and help you all support your campus captains and your student athletes a little bit better on your campuses. So just to get started, we're going to have our panelists all introduce themselves real quick, and then we have some questions that we'll get into for everybody. And then hopefully leaving 15-20 minutes at the end for some questions for all of you that are here. Please feel free to drop them in the chat if they come up during our panelists kind of giving their stories. And at the end, feel free we'll have time to unmute and ask questions then too. All right. So I'm going to have Kendall start first and just introduce herself. We'll go from there.
Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. I am going into my third year of being a head campus captain for the Hidden Opponent. I am a former track and field athlete from UC Santa Barbara, as well as former strength and track coach. Currently, I am in a master's program for counseling and sports psychology over at Boston University.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendall. Megan, would you like to go next?
Yeah, my name's Megan Gannon. I am the advisor for the Hidden Opponent chapter at Fuquay-Varina High School. We founded our chapter, we're on 4 years now, and we've had a lot of really great success and been really proud of it. I kind of found THO in a different way. My husband at the time was let go from his job, and it was all related to mental health kind of issues, I guess you could say. He was working at Duke and with the basketball team. And just as that started to happen, I was sort of working through like what kinds of next steps there were for me. And this kind of how THO kind of came about because I was looking into athletes and mental health. So I'm kind of a different pathway in, but I coach soccer at Fuquay as well. Super proud of everything that we've done there. I have a master's degree in positive coaching and athletic leadership from Mizzou. So if you're super interested in coaching and positive psychology, it's a really great program. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here too.
Thanks for being here, Megan. And Katrina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Hi guys, I'm Katrina. I am a current senior at Endicott College. I study exercise science right now, and I also manage the women's basketball team. I found an opponent before my freshman year. Just I was going through a lot of injuries, including 2 ACL and meniscus surgeries, which were not fun. But the hidden opponent is something that I found when I was playing in high school as a senior. I was the captain on my team, and then I lost my season to injury. So the hidden opponent was very helpful for me, and I just wanted to bring that on campus and to help other people with it as well.
Thanks for being here, Katrina. So all of our panelists, as you can see, have a wide variety of kind of experiences and viewpoints when it comes to working with the hidden opponent and our campus captains. And this discussion today is aimed at helping coaches and athletic administrators better support their student athletes. So with that in mind, from your position, panelists, what do you think is working well right now and how we support student athletes, and where is there still room for improvement?
I can go ahead and start. I think being at the high school level is very different than at the college level. I think college level, they've made a lot of different moves to really try to incorporate mental health as part of the overall wellness of an athlete. I think at the high school level, our hands are a little bit more tied, and we're lucky enough that our staff kind of buys into it. That is in large part due to all the kids that I work with on a daily basis. But I think the biggest thing that our kids say all the time is that they just want people to listen. But a lot of times they'll try to express themselves about how they're feeling, what they need. I just need a day off. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be good. And they get question and question and question. So I think that's one of the hardest things that our high school kids specifically are facing is that they they don't necessarily know how they're feeling, and then they're starting to burn out and they're starting to really feel like nobody's hearing me, nobody's listening to me. And I think that that's something that we need to, just as coaches and administrators, we've really got to start focusing on.
Yeah, for my school, the biggest thing that we deal with right now is we've been trying to get a lot of more male involvement, and we get a lot of girls that are interested in the club, which is great, and they're willing to talk and speak up, but it's difficult for these guys to speak up just because of the environments that they're in. Maybe it's their coaches, maybe, it's obviously out of fear, out of a lot of different reasonings, but the biggest thing is, like, trying to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to speak up, and I always try to tell them too, it's like you speaking up is you're speaking up for people who are afraid to speak up, who are voiceless, so that's something that we've been trying to work on. But what's been really going well is just like the communication with each other. We try to get all of these advocates to come together to talk to one another. And yeah, but I would say that's one of the biggest things.
I agree with both the points made, especially Megan, your point about high school and how there's not really much you can do is when you have a lot of athletes and one of you, and you can't be knowing everybody's specific situations and what they really want is to be understood, like you said. So I think in that front, how do we support admin, and how do we give them places to send athletes when when there's a need for a second step or a second support system for them. um and also I think in terms of improvement, how can all the supporters of the athlete be on the same page? So how can we have a more collaborative system on every level, in terms of athletic trainers, coaches, strength coaches, just general admin, academic advisors. How can we maintain a collaborative environment so we're able to support an athlete in a way that's a united front? Um, but in terms of what's going well, I think creating awareness is the first step and going very, very well. I think the dispersing of information on mental health, in particular with what the hidden opponent is doing and its presence on social media, we're getting to a lot of kids right now. And with how popular social media is, there's a lot of viewership there. So positive promotion of mental health in that way, I think is going well.
Yeah, thanks all of you. So it sounds like kind of creating this space to start the conversation and kind of streamlining that across student athletes all the way through coaches and administration and things like that. So thanks for all of that insight. Kendall, this next question is for you. Can you give us a high-level overview of how the Campus Captains program works? For example, what does the hidden opponent provide to student athletes in the program, and how can student athletes use the program to activate on campus?
Absolutely, yeah. Um, so essentially, the Campus Captain program is intended to give athletes the resource they need to advocate for mental health on their campus. So, um, in a great way, it allows athletes who are passionate about mental health or are seeing a gap in their environment to do something about it. It gives them a place to work from that is fueled by information, support, a community. So it's doing a lot of things to support the athlete themselves and then who they interact with on a day to day. The program is a somewhat of a tiered system. So there is the clinical advisory board, which are mental health professionals who kind of bring their insight in and are hosting monthly workshops for campus captains and campus captains on topics like um, transferable skills after sport, injury, confidence, leadership, so many topics that will give the campus captain so much insight on how to maintain a healthy relationship with their sport, but also how can they support everybody around them as well. Um, and these are live meetings if they can attend, so there can be dialogue had, questions asked to this professional. So it's like a direct tie from athletes everywhere to a professional, which I think is a huge benefit. And so below that is, I guess directly related to the campus captains, is the head campus captain, which is the role that I've had for the last 3 years. And my job is to mentor a group of the campus captains, which are separated by location. So, for example, I'm in charge of D1 West Coast campus captains. And my role is to organize monthly meetings where we discuss how the themes of the month, the workshops led by the clinical advisory board, apply to their lives. So how can we bridge the gap of information to personal use and conversation? And in that way, I'm able to be a mentor for these athletes, as a former athlete myself and someone who is passionate about mental health. Kind of be another insight for them, another resource. And then the campus captains themselves, they are basically advocates on their campus, um, able to do monthly activities provided by hidden opponent structure. So they could be doing um, awareness games where everyone wears green, or they talk about their advocacy with the hidden opponent, just generally bringing more awareness to their campus. But what I see as a huge proponent of this is the ability to create hidden opponent chapters, which is a group on your campus that is organized to, at any structure, but mainly meet monthly, and doing positive growth oriented activities and mental health awareness activities like vision boards, goal setting activities, or generally engaging with the hidden opponent resources. So maybe the campus captain brings the theme of the month from the workshop into their meeting and just has a discussion. So it kind of trickles down to where in their meetings, this fantastic campus captain leader is able to then talk with their athletic department, talk with the athletes who are joining this chapter, about what they're experiencing in terms of mental health, and then disperse the resources they have to them. Um, that's kind of the general overview of how the program functions. But I really see the dual aspect of information and support and community as kind of how this can be highly impactful. Because in these monthly meetings that, for example, I host, in that discussion happening, we're connecting athletes from around the world, in common interest. They all have passion for mental health. They all signed up for the hidden opponent for a reason, and they all get to show up in this same space and relate to each other on the struggles they're having, as well as what they want to see changing. So yeah, that's my overview.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendall, for that great explanation of how the entire program works. And if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to drop them in the chat so that we can continue to answer them as we go. Kind of off of that idea of creating a chapter, Katrina, could you share more about how you were able to found such a successful chapter on your campus, and what support did you get from the adults on your campus?
Yes, so it started back, I mentioned this, but right off the bat, my freshman year, I came in to campus and I didn't see that there was a strong support system for mental health for student athletes. So I proposed the club like within the first couple of months of school starting. And I actually did so. I actually was already starting to form a connection with one of my professors, and she runs the student engagement. She was very supportive from the start, which is something that I think really set the tone for how successful the chapter was able to be. But I proposed it, got accepted. First year, we had about 4 e-board members, and these were like people that I had met on campus within those first couple of months. And I was like, hey, like, I'm trying to start a club that's for student athlete mental health. Would you be interested in like being on the e-board? And they were like, sure. And so it was the 4 of us, and we were working in that first year. We got to do a couple of events. We did a transitioning at a sports panel. We got to do a couple of mental health workshops, mental health games. We obviously did a couple of club meetings, and then we had this huge speaker come. His name was Caleb Joseph. I found him through social media, reached out to him, and we've had him for 3 years in a row now, and he's kind of been our keynote speaker because the kids really, really loved him and were attached to him, and we really liked his authenticity. So then, sophomore year, we grew a little bit more, and then we kept adding on to what we were doing. So we did a lot more mental health awareness games. We did more panels. We did more workshops. And social media was taken a little bit more seriously at this point because we realized, okay, social media is how we could reach more people, the majority of people. And people can also reach out to us through there if they're always afraid to do it, in person, and that can be difficult. And then last year, we were growing to about 10 e-board members now, and this was something where I really do think it took off even more last year. We got to have like I want to say like over 15 mental health awareness games. We got to hold something called a Wellness Week, Recover Like a Pro, and this was gifted by THO and Adidas, and we were given some money to be able to put an event together. So that's what we did. We had puppy yoga, we had massage therapists, we had a lot of recovery food and tips and tricks, and yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on, and we always collab with other clubs on campus, which I think is very beneficial because you guys work together, you collab, and a lot of our causes and our passions can be intertwined into something, and we get each other's members as well. And the biggest thing, and I know Kendall mentioned club meetings and how special they are, and really they can be whatever you make. And I think what makes us special is we really do give it to the e-board members. So what we've been doing is every meeting, a new e-board member will present at the club meeting, and it could be any topic. Like we can do it on comparison versus competitiveness, which people don't think about how they intertwine. Maybe it's about overtraining syndrome. Maybe it's about identity crisis. Maybe it's about imposter syndrome. So many different things. What's discipline versus depleted capacity? There's so many different things that we talk about that aren't talked about. And then this year we're off to the races, senior year. We already got to we did a 5K in the fall for suicide prevention, which was insane to say the least. But at the end of the day, tying back to the question about the staff being supportive, I cannot recall how many times I have met, and I had to be very proactive about meeting with all of these faculty, right? Like faculty will be supportive, but it's only what you give to them. And that's important coming from the student of like, you got to show your passion for the club. It's not going to happen by itself. And if faculty are open to that, and if they're supportive, which I was very fortunate to have them, they saw my passion for it, and they actually got to build off of that and got to see it and got to help me. So I really do think because of them, we were able to make it happen, because they could have easily just been like, oh, whatever, like you're on your own. But they're like, let me know what I can do, because I know that you're passionate and I want to help you. And then, I probably annoyed them because I went to them so many times, but they really do love it, and I'm very grateful for them. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you were really persistent to get the support that you needed and get things off the ground. So thanks for sharing about how you've been able to be so successful on your college campus. Sounds like you have a really wonderful chapter there, which is awesome. Megan, you are the faculty advisor for our most successful high school chapter. Can you share more about how you got involved and what you do to support the students and help them run the club?
Yeah, so a lot of what Katrina just said is a lot of what we're trying to do too. It's just different because we're at the high school level, so I get to be the advisor and mentor. But like I said, like kind of back towards when we were doing our introductions, I became involved just because I was looking for different resources regarding mental health and sports and athletes. And we're grown adults when we went through what we went through. But I found it so like compelling and so interesting. And I was like, I can really do something with this with our kids. Like a lot of them constantly are talking about how they just need a place. They want someone to talk to. They just want somebody to understand. because being a student athlete, especially at the high school level now, has become so intense as well, because so many of these kids are playing travel. They're all over the place with their club teams, and then they come back. And for us, soccer is in the spring. So all of my girls are playing right now, and then they circle right back in and they start a high school season. And by the end of the high school season, they're just like, they're finished. So once I found THO, what I did was talk to the seniors on our team that year. And I said, you guys always want to do an awareness game. Everybody does breast cancer. Everybody's really looking to raise money for something like that. I said, what if we did a mental health game? And what if we just put green ribbons in your hair? You could wear green pre-wrap. I can have t-shirts made that just say something like mental health matters. And they were all for it. They were really excited about it. Our athletic director was on board with us. We had a great principal who really kind of got behind the mission of what we were trying to do. And that one game, we probably raised, we were like, we're going to see how much we can raise. And we raised about $1,200. And that was the first time we had ever done it. And a lot of that was coupled with our girls who were super interested. We also put on an entire week before that. So we did a couple years ago, like since we've started, but we've done bracelet making during that week. We've sold wristbands, we've sold stickers. Jeep ducks are huge around here. So we are selling ducks left and right. I mean, we probably went through like 1,000 of them one year. It was incredible because it was like, here's a squeaky duck for $1 and kids eat it up. It's, I don't know. But just little things like that we've been able to do. And now we've sort of grown into, what do people need? What's something like mindful that they can do during the day? Because high school is so like, show up at 7:30, start your day, go, go, go. Here's 4 90-minute periods. Now go home, or now go to practice. Now do this, now do that. And so we just tried to create something during lunches at that point that really just allowed kids to just sit. The bracelets were a big hit. They really loved making those. We had beads everywhere. We had string everywhere. So a lot of what our kids do is really just, they really just try to come up with different ideas to be able to connect with their peers. We started really small. I had 3 girls who, after the mental health game, really wanted to start the club. So we sat down, we talked about it. We tried to recruit. I used the soccer social media to really try to recruit kids. We started with like 8 total. And then we've kind of grown and grown little by little. It was a lot of girls, like Kendall was saying, like they're really super passionate. And it turned into, hey, I'm in this club. Why don't you come? Hey, I'm in this club. I'm bringing a friend with me. And little by little, we were able to grow. And then this year, our first meeting, we had 50 kids at, and I was just blown away. It was that, I mean, that's just ridiculous to have that many kids show up. And we have to meet at 6:30 in the morning because we don't have like a chunk of time in the middle of the day for the kids. We have 2 lunches, and a lot of them they're eating, they're studying, they're doing whatever they're doing. We can't get everybody on the same page. So to have 50 kids show up pretty consistently at 6:30 in the morning when they're probably going to be at school, some of them until 9 o'clock at night after their games, is incredible. But for us, it's just been just that slow growth. And we're really lucky to be in a smaller community too. So we've connected with just local therapy providers. Last year we had our 5K as well, because we were lucky enough to get the gift from Adidas and THO, and our campus captain, she'd been dying to do a 5K, just absolutely dying to do it. So we put it together, and we were really able to reach out into our community at that point. So now we've kind of got feelers out all over the place, which has been super helpful for us. But yeah, it all 3 kids and then 8 kids, and now here we are. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Megan. I think that what you said, what's kind of coming up for me is that just because something starts small doesn't mean that it's not meaningful. And so it was small and meaningful, and it's grown into something even more meaningful and larger and gotten to a larger audience, which is really, really cool. And that's kind of how THO and Campus Captain started too. And it's grown too. So thank you for that. This next question is available to any or all of our panelists who are willing to answer it. So a common complaint that we hear from student athletes in our program is struggling to get buy-in from the adults in the athletic department. We typically coach our student ambassadors on how to identify the right faculty allies, but we know that athletic department staff members are already overworked. So from your experience, how can we make this program effective but also sustainable for both the student ambassadors and overworked adult administrators?
I'll go first. I feel like this is definitely a not one size fits all question, and something really important to consider is see who you already have relationships with, because there's going to be a whole broad array of people. I can only speak on the college level, but honestly, our advisors, one of them's an athletic trainer and one of them is my professor. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a coach, it doesn't necessarily need to be an athletic director, someone who already has, they're overseeing so many people already. But think about someone like my professor is in my major, but she is very passionate about mental health. And that was something that was perfect for us. Because again, you want to reach student athletes, but you also want to reach the whole student body and the whole faculty. So I think, first of all, just landscaping who you have already with you and thinking, okay, maybe this person does have some room to be able to support us and to be able to work with us. But it really comes back to, again, these students and these ambassadors putting in a lot of the work. It is a commitment, but if you know what you want and if you really are passionate about spreading it, finding the right people will come, and that's important. And just again, seeing who you already have relationships with, and working with that and making sure that you're working together and not, one-sided. But yeah.
Thanks, Katrina.
I'll echo that. I think one of the reasons that we've been able to kind of sustain our momentum is just we have the right people around us. Like, sure, I'm the advisor, but my job isn't to go out and build the team and the group. Like that's been the kids. I let the kids kind of develop whatever they want to develop, and I may sit there and in my head I'm like, this is going to be a flop, and then it turns into a flop. But you know what? They've learned from it, and they've been able to communicate with a whole bunch of different people because of it. And regardless of if it was a failure, they still did it, and there was still awareness out there. Um, and a lot of what we try to do too is we have on all of our shirts, we have 1 in 4, meaning 1 in 4 people will suffer from some type of mental unwellness, and we put it on everything. So all of our shirts have it. If we do an awareness game, it has it on there. And that also starts conversations too, because a lot of people have no clue that it's up to 25% of people. So 1 in 4 people in your life are going to suffer in some way. And so that really starts conversations. Our kids have been really good about finding mentors away from me too. Like find a teacher, find a coach, find whoever it might be. It could be a lot of them have a mentor at church too down here. But finding people that are outside of the our really go-getter group and kind of bringing them in and picking their brains too for different things. But I would wholeheartedly agree that it has a lot to do with relationships, and just little things as well. Like we always do things for World Mental Health Day, and World Kindness Day is coming up. So we try to do something like that, and just to have things out and just to be able to carry on the conversation.
I'll bring her home. um, it's really cool to hear your guys' insight on that, and I think for me, I'm kind of removed from a specific department. So when I answer this question, it's more of like kind of wishful thinking, I think. But I am hesitant to add things onto like we've just like talked about an overworked staff member. But I agree with you both in terms of how connections and can just create so much more collaboration and just wellness overall in athletic department at any level. Um, and in terms of what campus captains get, they're getting both of these mental health trainings as a part of onboarding. And if there was a way via chapters to bring coaches in to that conversation so that coaches are being exposed to the same mental health training that the athlete is, and then there can be like conversation around that and tangible information for both the coach and the athletes on how do we help ourselves and how do we help others. Um, and that's why seeing you, Megan, have like such a successful crew and also being in that coach and mentor role and participating in, you know, the THO aspect of their mentorship, I just think is pivotal, like essential. And so how do we translate that to other campuses, especially college campuses, where there are chapters? How do we bring coaches in to something that's already being organized, in a way that doesn't, you know, kind of change the athlete safe environment that they have together? So maybe it's just for the initial mental health training. Um, but yeah, that buy-in at all levels to mental health and what it means to athletes, I think is huge.
Yeah, thanks all of you for your insight on that. What I'm hearing a lot of is start with the people you have in your corner and kind of build from there and let the spider web kind of grow from there. Because some of the feedback that we do hear from our campus captains is there is some pushback and sometimes it's not as easy to get kind of the foot in the door with some of the faculty and coaches and things like that. So it sounds like from a lot of these experiences here that it's helpful to start with the people you know are in your corner and slowly grow from there. Megan, we have one more question specifically for you. We often hear from on-campus adults who want to bring the campus captains program to their school, but they don't have a campus captain at their school yet. So how would you recommend going about trying to identify the right students for the program?
So I have thought a long time about this question, and even talked to a couple of my colleagues today, because I always tell the kids that if someone sits me down and asks me a question of like, how do you build and how do you find the right kids? Like, I don't know that I can actually properly explain it because it's such a passion work. Um, but with all that said, I think one of the ways to do it, if we're looking to really start a chapter, if we're really looking to identify the right kids, I think it's all about starting. If you're a teacher, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, if you, whatever the role is, like we said before, it's finding somebody who, like, their mind is kind of triggered by all of this too. Um, if you're on a high school campus, one of the things I can suggest is doing what we did and just start with your own team. Have an awareness game. It can cost a lot depending on what you have there. It can cost nothing but green ribbons in the hair and maybe a couple of posters. It's one of the simplest things that you can do. And what we have found is through all of the awareness games that we've done, that's how we've done a lot of our recruitment too. Because like I said before, we have a lot of girls, but they're all very passionate about it, and some of them are real yappers, as the kids say now, and they'll just talk and talk to anybody that they come across. So they've done a really good job of trying to find people who are listening to them. We also have a brochure that we did 2 years ago. This was in our second year, and we kind of were like, how can we sort of just get things out on campus? So the kids all researched a brochure, they put it all together, has things like say this, not that after a game if you're a parent, if you're a coach, self-talk for athletes, all kinds of different things in there. And what we did was kind of go and hang it around campus, and then we found different places in our community later on. But I gave that to all of our teachers and all of our coaches. And a lot of what started to happen was they would then reach back out and say, hey, somebody had mentioned something to me. I'm going to send them your way, see what you think. And it could just be they needed a day off for their mental health. So they're like, can they come and talk to you? But this kind of work, it's so like, I always tell the kids it's the hardest work you're going to do, but it's the most rewarding work you're going to do, especially at the high school level. And if you just kind of find your people and the people who are really actively listening to you when you're explaining who we are and what we do, then you know you found them and you can bring them into the fold and everything. But I could probably talk for hours, or I could talk for 0 more minutes about it. I just really believe if you have the right people and you are willing to try anything, then you're going to be able to grow and you're going to find your campus captains and really be off to the races.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think a lot of what you've said today kind of comes back to this theme of it takes one, right? So it takes one person to start the conversation, it takes one person to listen. And if we can all start to get one person to hear us out and one person to start to listen, then that grows from 1 to 50 before you even know it. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We've got one last question for all of our panelists before we kind of open things up to a Q&A or additional experiences that folks have had. So that last question for all of you to touch on is, outside of the structure of the Campus Captains program, how can faculty and staff advocate for the hidden opponent and athlete mental health?
I can go. I think as simple as modeling behavior can be huge. Like any and all athletic, department supporters, if they are prioritizing their mental health and doing the things they need to do, like that is hugely beneficial for athletes who are looking up to them. Those are mentors, those are people that they're looking towards for support, especially in a coach. So just the modeling of the behavior in terms of mental health, I think, could be a huge proponent. Um, I may be biased because I'm becoming a performance consultant and counselor, but I think making space for one in every place we can, in every athletic department we can, and this is more of a conversation I think for an athletic director or leaders, but um, trying to make space for that, even in the sense that they are supporters for coaches. Like coach can go and talk to them. A coach can know that the athlete who's coming to them with an issue, oh, like I totally hear you. Guess what? We have a supporter for you to access, and someone them being in the athletic department makes them accessible. So they guarantee the athlete is can talk to someone, and that might settle their mind a little bit as a coach of like, okay, whew, that was a lot, but like I know that there's someone out there that is going to help them. So I think making a space for that would be so positively impactful for any environment. But yeah, that's my two things.
Thanks, Kendall.
I think Kendall hit the mark with that. And also, what I would want to add is also making sure, especially for coaches, that you are there for athletes through all their stages of their career and life, and not just when they're performing and not just when they are in season or whatever that looks like, but what are they doing even when they're reaching the end of their career? How can you help support them for life after sport? And how can you have that consistent appearance in their life and not just maybe when it matters the most, or not maybe when you need them to play a really good game that day or whatever that looks like. But coaches, like Kendall was saying, like you are a model for these athletes. You are there for them through the highs, through the lows, through whether they are an athlete on the team or whether they aren't. Because a lot of the time, these athletes, their fears are centered towards whether it's playing time, that's why they're afraid to speak up, or a lot of other reasons that it's going to be used against them in some way, shape, or form. So being able to be consistent across the board with everybody, whether that is a student, whether that is a student athlete, whether that's whoever, but no matter what their status is, or no matter if they get playing time or if they're a senior, that you're always there for them and you make that very clear and you don't react aggressively, like you just are non-judgmental about things. And that, sometimes again, like Megan was saying, they just need people to listen, or and that's huge. So being able to just meet people where they're at and to have that consistent presence is important.
And one of the other things that we try to do too, just to be that consistent presence, just on our team, is if our girls need a day off, we give them two, like, unspoken, like, I just needed a day, and they're allowed to take that day. We do a ranking with them, so, like, all I'll ask is just give me a 1 to 5, 5 being great, 1 being I'm not okay. And if they give me a 1 or a 2, then that's more serious, and that's when we're contacting parents, et cetera, et cetera. But if they're anywhere from like a 3, like they're so up to a 4 or 5, like I kind of just say, okay, take your day. Like it may just be I have way too much homework and I'm overwhelmed by all of it, so I need to go and do that right now. I call it the cleaning your house theory. The cleaner and more straightened up things are, the better your brain's going to feel and the better you're going to perform at practice. So we give them 2 days of just unspoken, I just need my mental health day, no questions asked, go ahead and take it. We have stipulations behind it, but depending on where we are, like before a game and such, like even if they need it and we play a game the next day, I'll say, I still need you to come to practice so you know what we're doing, but let's not make it so intense for you. Let's figure out how we can kind of mix things up for you. But I think just as a faculty, I've been really lucky because I've had most people start to buy in, and they'll wear the shirts, they'll wear the wristbands, they'll show up in ways that these kids need them to show up. But I really think that as long as kids have a place and they're allowed to be a human being before they're an athlete, before they're a student, as long as they're allowed to be a human being, it changes everything. Because like you guys were just saying, beyond athletics, what does life look like? Beyond your sport, what does life look like? And so I'm a big proponent of like, let's talk about this as a human being before we actually look at it from an athlete's point of view.
Yeah, thanks all of you for your insights on that. I think Katrina, you said it, it's like meeting people where they are, showing people that they're human. And I think the points that all of you are making is that the best way to be a mental health advocate is through action, is to show people that like this is how I take care of my mental health and this is how I want to support you in doing the same, and holding space for that, which has not always been the case in athletics. So starting to kind of change that narrative a little bit. All right, well, we have about 15 minutes left, so I feel like it's a good time for us to open the floor for any questions for those of you who are on this call, that you might have. If you have any questions for the panelists, feel free to either unmute yourself, or you can drop them in the chat. You can direct it towards a specific panelist or just open to everybody. And if we don't have any questions, but those of you who are on here have personal experiences at your schools that you're at that you want to share that could be helpful or that we could kind of have some dialogue around, we're open to that as well. All right. And if we don't have questions, totally cool. We're happy to always, answer questions as they come up later on. Feel free to send emails our way, to the hidden opponent. We can also share folks' emails if they're open to sharing their contact information. So unless our panelists, yeah, thanks, Leanne. If our panelists have anything that y'all want to add before we kind of wrap things up for the night, thanks for all being here. It's been really great to hear your insights and share some information about the program.
I just want to say that we are watching everything that's going on at Endicott, and everything you guys do, like we take little notes and we're like, how can we make this better at the high school level? So
that's so sweet.
yeah, you guys are doing
Thank
awesome
you.
work there, and like we follow everybody. So we really like, I joked with Leanne, I think last year, and I was like, no, like one of the high schools did this, now we have to do it better. And like, so like just little things that I love to just collect different ideas that people are doing, because like we all just have such unique ideas. So, but yeah, you
Thank
guys
That
are
you.
edge doesn't go anywhere, never goes away.
Yeah, something in the making is we're actually about to have a bench off, so that will be coming soon, which is like a whole thing. So we'll see, but it's really just fun thinking of like fun ideas that are like you can make anything into something that's, for mental health for student athletes or just mental health in general.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for being here and sharing your information with us. It's been awesome. Thanks for those of you who are here live and those of you who are going to be watching this on the recording on your own time. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions or thoughts or comments that come up. We're happy to answer those as they come up. So thank you all and have a great night. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Bye.